Hey guys, how are we all doing? Kyle here, aka Daxx Trader on Twitter, if you want to follow me there. I'm here with a market update for you guys. We're going to be covering off Bitcoin, Ethereum. We're going to be looking at the ETH BTC chart, which looks really interesting at the moment, and a whole heap of top altcoins I've been trading for a while and other setups that I'm looking at right now. But most importantly, we're going to be looking at the price action on BTC and whereabouts this pullback is going to land us. Okay. Alex was going to join us today. Unfortunately, he can't because he's on dad duties, but he'll be back with more fundamentals updates over the next couple of days, next couple of weeks. Okay. But let's jump into the charts. First up, we're going to be looking at BTC. Okay. So this is actually the Ethereum chart. This is the Bitcoin chart that I was looking for. So if you're in our Facebook community or on our website community, nuggetsnews.com. I put out a post the other day saying that this potentially could be a bit of a mid-cycle top, okay? And this level here at the 0.618, 48,500 was basically my yearly target that I've been looking for since we reclaimed 20K. This was the target that I was looking for. We actually hit it a lot later in the year or in the cycle because it took until the next year to tag it. But basically after we took this reclaim here and had the rally out of the very bottom of the market lows and reclaimed 20K. For me, it was always, the major level that I was looking for to get tagged. And that's because Bitcoin does very consistently over its last two cycles in 2019 and then also in 2015, 2016 bottom, after it came out of its accumulation range, came up and tagged the 0.618, right? We can see perfect tag at pretty much 14K, all right? And then on the monthly time frame, there was a key monthly level that it hit as well back here. And that ended up being pretty much the local high for the mid-cycle rally, or I should say the pre-halving rally. So it made a lot of sense that Bitcoin would probably do something similar. It did almost exactly the same thing, which is more similar to this cycle in the 2016 cycle. So we can see here that we came up and tagged a very important, crucial monthly level. It wasn't the monthly high for the previous cycle. That would have been a little bit too high. So it makes sense that we came up and tagged this key monthly level and we're having a bit of rejection there. And also it lines up pretty well with the 0.618. So that's why we're seeing so much selling here and so much resistance. And obviously, this perfectly timed with the sell the news event of the ETF, right? And so it makes a lot of sense we're having this reaction that we're having right now. What I'm expecting to see now, we are actually seeing a little bit of oversold price action on the 4 hour. Now, if we go and have a look at every single time, this entire rally that we've been in since it started in mid-October, every time we have been in an oversold area on the 4 hour, we have got a strong bounce. Now, there's potential that this rally is over and it's going to take, time for us to rebuild momentum again. I think that has a lot to do with, potential heavy selling that's coming out of GBTC, the grayscale ETF at the moment, because everybody's trying to escape the 1.5% fee that they charge. And I think what's happening is people are redeeming their GBTC for Bitcoin, and that's forcing, or for cash, and that's forcing them to have to sell a lot of their GBTC. And if you've been tracking the flows, there's been heavy flows out of GBTC onto the market. But we're still positive for all the ETFs, but I think it's not as much. It's not as much buying power as what people originally thought there potentially could be to see us fly. But if there wasn't the GBTC outflows, it would actually be a fairly substantial pump happening right now from the buying from the ETFs, right? So I think that is definitely a big overhang on the market for sure. But if we look at the data, which I can show you in a little bit, Coinbase is pretty much buying only on spot since we came close into the ETF. So it's really interesting to see that sort of action happening on Coinbase and the other major US exchanges, where we're seeing a lot of the selling coming in on the Asian exchanges mainly. But when we have these oversold areas on the 4 hour RSI, right, we're putting in a bullish divergence here at the moment. It's usually an area that I start to look to buy. And we have just put in a really nice swing failure pattern of this level here with a nice tag Pretty weak 4 hour close coming up here, but potentially what we're putting in here is a pattern that I call the double doji reversal, where you have two dojis in a row. And a doji is just a candle with a tail wick and not too much of a body, right? Which is basically what we've put here. So we are seeing a little bit of buying start to kick in here around the previous low that we just took out, right? So what I would need to see next for this to end up being a reversal candle is a nice strong green candle, or it's going to be blue on my chart, but whatever your chart has the settings set as, a nice strong candle like this. And I would like to see it actually reclaim this low here, to be honest. If it can't, it's not the end of the world, but just means it's not as strong. It would need to do it in the next candle. So basically, the next two candles here, I want to see them be strong and bullish and probably reclaim 41 700. Not sure where I was getting those numbers from. And basically just what we want to see is price come up and do something like this, okay? And then reclaim and get back into this range here, which is pretty much back inside this weekly order block, okay? That I think would signal a little bit more of medium-term bullish price action. And pretty much what I want to see here is a rally from BTC off the lows here. And don't get me wrong, this can definitely roll over one more time and take out the lows at 40K. This level here and this level here, I think are just screaming out to be swept. And, you know, I think it's a pretty good level for, you know, the whales and market makers to target, because there would be for sure um, a whole heap of positions underneath here just getting waited to get stopped out or liquidated, right? So a lot of the time when we have obvious lows like this, before the market reverses, we see those get taken out and then price continues on, okay? Now, we don't know if price is going to continue on here or if it's a distribution pattern just yet. I could definitely see this ending up being a distribution. We put in a lot of the hallmarkers for a distribution, which could signal that we are going to go a bit lower. Maybe we tag 35K or we tag 30K potentially. And I'll draw up the scenarios and how those will play out. But at the moment, I think we're definitely getting close to the bottom of this local dump. It's been a pretty big sell-off so far. I think we're due for some sort of a relief bounce. So, you know, 17%. How often do you see Bitcoin have 17% straight dump without a rally, right? Doesn't happen that often. So I think that we could definitely have a nice bounce here soon. And then it comes down to, can we reclaim the 44,200 level, right? If you look at the data of the exchanges where people have resting limit orders, there's a whole heap of sell orders sitting at 44K. So I could see that being a really tough level for us to get through. I wouldn't be surprised if we got some sort of a relief bounce soon, and then that ends up fading and dying out around 44K, and then we roll over for a deeper retrace. That would suck in a whole heap of people, and maybe we get some sort of a rising wedge type structure like this, and then it rolls over. And it would be similar sort of price action to what we had at the previous high back here in 2021, in April 2021. Okay, so big sell off after we have that same sort of structure. This is called an upthrust after distribution, you know, or just like a bear trap. Okay. Upthrust after distribution is Wyckoff terminology, which is a bit more advanced concepts, but you know, you can just look at this and be like, okay, potentially there's a big seller selling through here and a whole heap of buyers got trapped above the previous high and then the market dumped below it. Now, those buyers, they get into a really tough position if you don't get back above that previous high or the range higher level, right? So what we see here is people starting to sell as the market recovers here when it finally gets that bounce. We can see that same price action, what we've got at the moment with that bullish divergence here with the 4 hour oversold on our RSI. So we have that bounce and then it paints the bearish structure, which is the rising wedge. That confirms, and then we have a much deeper retrace. Now, we could be on for something like that. So this is why we just need to be careful. And I'll definitely be hedging and taking some more profits if we do come up and start to put in some type of rising wedge into the range high up here at that 44K level. So in my opinion, it's really that 44K level that needs to be the focus of everybody's, you know, attention over the next couple of probably the next 2 weeks, to be honest, because if we get rejected from 44K, then I think 38K is definitely very possible, and even potential that we come down to even 35K, which is a 2021 yearly value area low, which is from our VWAP indicator, which is basically just gives us really clean, solid, high time frame levels. And you can see back here, earlier in the year, price reacted to that level very substantially, okay, multiple times. So that level will be retested when we come back to it. It's also the 0.382 on our Fibonacci levels as well, okay? So 30, basically reject from 44K, 35K is where I'd be looking for a bounce, okay? And we could see 38K hold. It just depends where the buyers come in, especially, we don't know what all these hedge funds are waiting for as well. They could see price come down to 38K and they go, that's the level I've been waiting for to buy into the ETF. And we see huge flows come into BlackRock and Fidelity and ARK. And that could signal, that the bottom is put in and we're ready to reverse. Now, Bitcoin does have, 20%, 30% pullbacks consistently. Typically, they have been a bit smaller pre-halving in the pre-halving rally or earlier on in the cycle, and then they get further towards the larger throwbacks when the volatility really increases later towards the end of the cycle. So, a 22% pullback basically brings us down to 38K from the recent high that we just put in. That makes a lot of sense to me. A deeper pullback all the way down to 35K is pretty much a 30% pullback. That could happen for sure. A lot of people have been talking about a throwback all the way down to 30K. Look, we can't rule that out, but all the way down to 30K starts to push towards, 38, 39, 40% pullback. I just don't feel like where Bitcoin is in the world right now, with all these ETFs just launched, I just don't see it having a 40% pullback unless something major happens on the stock market as well, which if we go and quickly take a look at the NASDAQ, it's pushing to a new all-time high right now. I don't really think that's creating the scenario to cause some sort of a liquidity event that could trigger BTC to have a 40% pullback. So for me, I feel like that's a little bit unrealistic at the moment, but at all times, anything can all happen. We just need to take note of the key levels that we want to trade at, right? So for me, to make it super clear for you guys, the levels that I want to trade at and do business at, right, would be a sweep. Even this current level right here, I could take a long looking for 44K, and then that will give altcoin a chance to get another rally before the next rollover, right? I could see this get taken out and then reclaimed. That would be a really strong bullish setup for me. I would definitely take a long position there, looking for a rally back up to 44K. Now, if we then do something like this and fake out above 44K, like all of these big wicks here, right? We do that sort of price action again, then I'll be happy to hedge or get into short positions, looking for the range low again, because I think we're probably going to be range bound for a little bit longer. And then if this range low doesn't hold, then my targets are going to be 38K and then 35K. Okay. And then we'll just see how price reacts to that. I think there would be some definite market structure bouncing and everything like that happening before we get down to 30K. So I think that's a fair while off. So that's pretty much BTC. Hopefully that gives you a good insight. A lot of people have been, talking about the high time frame potential for Bitcoin to be putting in, it's weaker wave and it's Elliott wave, and putting in, it's like it's ABC correction and we're about to roll over to 12K and stuff like that. I just want to address some concerns on that. And I believe that, using that type of analysis is just a little bit wishful. And I just don't believe that it's that realistic or based around what's actually happening in the world today in reality. And it's sort of like looking at a textbook example and expecting it to play out in reality, where in markets, things happen for multiple different reasons. And a lot of it usually comes down to global liquidity, right? And so I just want to show you guys what's happening at the moment, right? It looks to me in the global liquidity index and also in the ECB that they have stopped selling off. Now, this might chop sideways, which is totally fine, because the US liquidity is actually being injected pretty aggressively. And just, to look at some other economic factors, they've taken about $1.2 trillion out of the reverse repo account, put that into the Treasury General, and then they're just spending that money straight into the economy. So it's almost like they're doing quantitative easing while the Federal Reserve is doing quantitative tightening. And, so it's basically counteracting the printer, right? So just to say it in basic terms, they basically turned the printer on without realistically letting everybody know that they're doing it. So it's sort of like a hidden version of QE, and China just pumped in a whole heap of money recently as well. We can see that down here with the big spike. And so when there's capital coming into Bitcoin, coming into the entire world's economy, a lot of that money finds its way to flow into Bitcoin. And you can see over the years that Bitcoin does track very closely to the global liquidity flows. Okay. And until that rolls over for whatever reason, which I can't see happening coming into an election year, I can't see BTC having a really big detachment from its correlation to that. So that's why I just think that with the ETFs coming on board and the global liquidity flows right now, which are shifting more and more to be more and more positive. The Federal Reserve's close to being closing down its quantitative tightening program and becoming just more shifting from tightening into monitoring more just like a stable economy. And potentially even dropping rates, right? So I just don't feel that it's realistic that we're going to have a big rollover in Bitcoin and come all the way back and make new lows. I think that's just people that have wishful thinking that maybe missed the bottom here. So yeah, I try to just block the people out like that until there's evidence to show us that the channels of and the structure of the market cycle has actually changed. So far the market cycle has been pretty much exactly the same as what it has been over the last couple of cycles, like very, very similar to the 2019 rally. We've actually just happened this part of the cycle where we come up and hit the 0.618 has just happened a little bit later in the cycle to what happened in 2019, which to me actually tells me that we're more on track for a typical Bitcoin cycle, very similar to the 2015 to 2017 rally. It's very, very similar to that one. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But yeah, for me, everything about hitting back to new lows is just noise at the moment. And I'm playing it step by step. I think that's the best way to look at it. So let's move on. We're going to look at ETH BTC, which has had a really nice rebound. And it's found itself at a very difficult position with this long-term downtrend through here, which has been in place since July 2022. Or sorry, a little bit later, actually, since September 2022. Right, if we can break out of this level, I think it's going to be very bullish for Ethereum, but it does need BTC to head back to its range high. Typically, when you put in a high, you have Ethereum and altcoins push for a little bit longer after BTC. So BTC makes its final high, and then BTC will bounce from its initial dump off, which we could be about to do, and then Ethereum makes a new high, altcoins make new highs, and then Bitcoin dumps off and drags everything down with it. So that's a bit of a tell to be watching to see if we're putting in a bit more of a local high at the moment, if it's just a local high, or if we're putting in more of like a midterm cycle high. Okay. So Ethereum's structure still looks really nice. What I don't want to see is it to come back below 21.25. If we can hold these key levels at 21.25, which is basically the previous highs back here, if it can hold that, it still looks pretty good, right? So it does have, a lot of potential to, even if Bitcoin does have a fairly strong pullback, to still hold these highs and still look pretty strong, okay? So that's pretty much Ethereum at the moment. I am looking for the potential for Ethereum to make a new high while Bitcoin lags for a little bit and altcoins take over. And that would coincide with BTC making this rally from the range low back up to that 44K and then roll over. So if Bitcoin does make this push from this range low at 40K to 44K range high, that's going to give a lot of life to altcoins to have a big push, and Ethereum and things like that. But need to be careful if that is happening, that Bitcoin can rug all the protocols and all the other coins very quickly, and then that can lead to really, really big sell-offs in them. So I don't want to be overexposed or be holding any of these trades for too long, because they can have huge sell-offs. Okay, so let's go and have a look at some of the altcoins. So Ccoin is one that everybody's talking about at the moment because it has heaps of, basically it's the new fastest protocol, right? New layer one, it's super fast. So everybody's talking about how great it is. And it is in a nice bullish structure here. And if Bitcoin does have that rally that we're talking about from range low to range high, it does give potential for this to rally and push out and create new highs. Okay. Uh, this is a really nice setup, but it still has to continue holding. It's on the support right now. And this is basically an ascending triangle. It's on the support right now. If we break the support, uh, and then get a reject off this level here, then it's not looking good, and potentially is distribution, and we'll start to look for lower levels. But at the moment, as long as this can hold this little uptrend that we've got here at the moment, then that ascending triangle shape is still on, and we could end up breaking out of the highs and pushing to a new high. Okay. MAV is an interesting coin, another new one that's been around for just a short amount of time. When did it come out? July last year listed and put in a really nice accumulation range here. It's sort of been doing the Livermore accumulation cylinder structure that we saw Ethereum do before it broke out and pumped really aggressively. So what I'm looking for here is this rally. This was a really quite strong rally, 60%, to pull back and do some sort of accumulation around this area here and then get another strong move up, right? If it comes back inside the cylinder here, I just have to be careful that it rejects off the top of that and can't get back out again and then moves back towards the range low. Okay, so that would be a fair bit bearish, and I would be not wanting to be holding it. If it does spend too much time back inside the cylinder and can't get back out of it, that would be a bit of a sell signal for me. TIA is one that's got everybody talking because it's been pumping really hard and was an airdrop. And everybody's been staking this one as well. So bit of an interesting chart because almost just been up only. But typically what I want to see for me to sort of, agree with something is over in its pump is you want to see a lower high. So this has just been making higher highs and higher lows. So nothing 100% bearish just yet. It's just basically BTC's bearishness pulling it down. So I think that is the key thing to watch out for. If this does make a lower high here, then that does open up the shift in direction of the trend, because you always want to see things moving up in a trend like this. As soon as you get that lower high like this, and then another lower high that's confirmed trend reversal, then it can be hard to shift that trend back in the other direction. So what we want to see here is the order block at this point here hold, right? And then basically we get a rally out of there and we continue this trend that it's making of higher highs and higher lows. But potentially it could just flag out again. It just looks like the start of something, some type of a setup, but no real clear indication of what it's going to do just yet. It could also very easily pull all the way back down to $11 if Bitcoin, does dump again further, and then it could be range bound for a bit. So I think that's a pretty nice level down here at $11 to look for some sort of a bounce, or to be setting up for longer term holds. Okay, and then the other key level, if that doesn't hold, would be around this $7.40 mark. Okay. So Sovereign is an interesting one that I think a lot of the guys are on at the moment. If I can get the right chart up. Really nice pullback to the 0.618 and 0.66, which is our golden buy zone. And it's bounced off this level twice right now and looking pretty nice, to be honest. So potentially we could see this get a little bit of a rally. Even over the last few days when Bitcoin had its pullback, it's actually still looked pretty decent. So doesn't want to sell off in the sign of bearishness on BTC. It's always important to look at the charts that are green when the market is red everywhere else. Okay. I think that's probably the easiest way to look for the next strongest coins. And, there is a little bit of a level from back here as well. All right. So if that can hold, then we could be on for its next move. But sometimes you see price action like this on altcoins and it just ends up leading to, a big bleed out, something like that. Okay. So just need to be careful that altcoins don't end up pulling all the way back if Bitcoin does die a little bit here over the next few months. But I do believe that we might get some sort of bullish price action moving into the halving. So Sui is another one that's had a really nice pump, uh, and it's going to be it's going to be difficult to see uh, this one not having a little bit more of a pullback. A lot of times when you have big breakaway candles like this, the market likes to come back and fill those in. So some people call those FVGs, or some people call them imbalance, and the markets can sometimes come back and retest that level. So potentially comes back and tests pretty much a dollar, right? Or maybe like 95 cents, or even a bit further down at this 90 cents level, wouldn't be out of the picture, right? But at the moment, it does look like, potentially setting up the beginning of, we just had a big rally. So potentially setting up, a falling wedge, or some sort of, more bear flag, bull flag type structure, something like that. And then we can trade off that. Okay. Um, I think ARB is a bit of an interesting one. It's just basically flipping its previous high from when, it had its opening push. If this can hold, it's going to be good signs. If not, it does open up a pullback all the way to to $1.30. So it's just one that I'm going to be a bit cautious on at the moment. A lot of coins, obviously because Bitcoin sort of had a bit of a mid-cycle top, are looking the same. So this definitely has a fair bit of open space for it to fall back, maybe a 30% pullback. But if it does come all the way back to $1.20 or $1.30, I think it's a decent buying position. Okay. Let's go and look some more of the majors. So Link is green today while everything else is red. That is always a good sign. A really nice big swing failure pattern down here, and we're holding our VWAP level, which is our orange line through here. This could definitely be a distribution, but right after an accumulation, massive multi-year. This is almost a 2-year accumulation range from Link, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if this continues to chop sideways. Maybe if Bitcoin does bleed out all the way down to like 35K or something, it does bleed out and we come back and we tag $11.30. And I think that's a pretty good level to be looking for next position. It might not get back there. It might just chop sideways in this range and then take off again, especially if BTC is strong. It's just going to lead everything out. INJ's had a massive rally, and it's been very strong. I think potentially it could come back to retest the previous all-time high at 25. But I wouldn't be surprised if this just stayed chopping sideways and then found its way to rally out of this, right? And it's a bit early and hard to tell because, we do have sweeps both sides. So there's no real tell of which side of the range this actually wants to push to. One of the major areas I always look for to hold is the previous consolidation before we moved into the range, which is this level here around $29. So that could be a really nice buy level if price does, for whatever reason fail. That could be a nice area to look for a sweep of, and then continuation from there. Okay. Everybody's got a Solana position, and it looks like a little bit of, this big pump definitely looks like a little bit of a local high, and we could be moving into some sort of a bit more of a major pullback. So I wouldn't be surprised if it pulled all the way back to $80 or even a little bit lower around 63, but I might be a little bit overly bearish on it. And this is definitely going to need Bitcoin to, to have positive price action. But it could easily have another rally and come up and double top up here when BTC pushes up to 44K, if that does happen, right? So you can see a lot of my analysis is based around what Bitcoin does, right? And whenever Bitcoin moves from its range low to its range high, that's when altcoins pump the most, okay? And so that's what we're sort of waiting for now at the moment. So if Bitcoin does make that shift from 40K up to 44K, then that really does open up things like Solana to have another push and maybe push all the way up to $120 or even all the way up to 140, which was my target for Solana for some time, which, as you can see, similar sort of position to what Bitcoin tagged in that early April 2022 rally that we had. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense, guys. We're going to quickly look at THET as well. It's had a really nice rally, and I don't want to say that it looks like, a major top, but I just think it looks like it wants to show. It hasn't really shown its hand just yet. And a few of these coins are very similar, like R&D and Ocean. These AI type coins, they all like to move together. And so it's definitely one that I've been keeping my eye on. I think it's got a fair bit of long-term potential. It has pumped really hard since October, 250, 270% move. But I feel like it just needs a little bit more time to mature in its position and show its hand a bit more here. But it could end up maybe taking out the previous highs here at it's pretty much 55 cents, right? So for me, like a really clean entry would be chop sideways for a little bit longer, maybe have a breakdown and take this level out, then reclaim and then break the downtrend that it's putting in here. That would be a really nice setup for me. Pull back, retest that, and then push on into its next rally. And that could take some time. Like a lot of the position where the market is in right now, I do feel like it's not going to start pumping again anytime soon. We probably need unless there's some crazy catalyst which comes out of nowhere, right? Like I said before, anything can happen at all times. But unless there's some crazy catalyst, I think like a lot of the markets just need to range a little bit longer, probably range and like chop out, get people to sell out of frustration because things aren't moving and they have that need to gamble and need to always be in a winning trade. And so shift around into a few different coins and stuff like that, or, start putting their money in some other place because crypto isn't pumping anymore. And then once that finally happens, we bleed everyone out, then the market sort of resets and pushes from there. So I actually have on my second screen, I've got something set up to show you guys what I think could happen with Bitcoin over the next few months. And it's basically just a copy of the price action of our last high back here. So currently where the price is right now, I'd like to see it make a lower high. So we get a rally here, put in that lower high, and then roll over and just chop around for a few months down to about that 38K level. And then we sort of take off from there. Another nice falling wedge setup or something like that would be really good to just pump the market again. So typically Bitcoin not sets up, these big patterns, right, that are really easy to trade. It takes sometimes 2 months for it to set up. So, this was sort of like, just a sideways trading range that broke out, and then we had a nice rally from there. This was a falling wedge. This was a rising wedge back here. We had the accumulation structure back here. So every couple of months it will set up like a really easy and simple pattern to trade. And, I think that's what it's about to do at the moment. We just sort of need a little bit more insight until, that obvious trade setup comes, and then life will be much easier moving forward. So that's pretty much it from me, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in. If you got something out of this session, please leave us a like or comment below. Hopefully parts of it wasn't too advanced or too complicated for you guys. I did try to make it as basic as possible, and not to show too much of the advanced data and things like that. So yeah, make sure you follow me on Twitter if you're not yet at Daxx Trader. I post all my charts and everything like that up there. And we are still running the special for the Nuggets News community. If you do want to become a member and see all my updates and trades and everything like that I post regularly, along with all the airdrops that the guys are always writing reports about and notifying members of, and all of the fundamental reports on new coins and everything like that they've absolutely been crushing it lately. So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Hopefully we'll see you in the community, and we'll see you in the next update.